Hey everyone, welcome to Watch It Paint It. In this video, I'm going to be painting a game I don't actually own. Got a hold of some miniatures. I will talk about that as we go through the video. This is Deep Madness by Dimension Games, and this is Samuel Smith, one of the characters from it. So as I mentioned, I'll talk a bit about how I obtain these as we go through. It's quite an interesting story. Just showing the miniature here. Didn't come in a base, sadly. So I'm just showing, I've just got this spare base I cut a miniature off in the past. I'm just going to add a teeny tiny bit of super glue to it just to hold it for the process of this video, because I didn't want to glue it to the real base I wanted to use yet. I'm going to customize the base in this video as well, so you'll see that towards the end, but just a little bit of glue just to hold it on that temporary base so we can go through and paint this. So I'll let that dry in the background, and that base is going to allow me to attach it very, very easily to my hobby holder, or any holder I guess that you'd like, because trying to blue tack or putty him down on straight on it, it's just mean I'm not going to be able to paint his feet very well. Just showing the model. These are resin models. I'm not sure if they're prototype models, but they're resin. So how I obtain them is subscriber James joined my Patreon. He's pledged to me. Thank you very much to him and all my patrons as always. And he hit me up, sent me a message. Would I like some of these miniatures that he obtained? He won them at a convention, and he sent me a handful of the characters, these resin ones that he got for Deep Madness. So I'm able to paint on the channel. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Big help. Gives me access to a game I don't have. Gives me access to hopefully some new people who are watching this. If you've not seen the channel before, I make painting tutorials for beginners, really. I was a beginner when I started, and I try and explain how to paint. In the background, we're using Dark Fleshtone by Vallejo there, and I'm going to paint all of his skin. I'm not going to use a wash on his skin, so I'm going for a dark colour there. And then I'm going to highlight that with a very watered down Beasty Brown by Vallejo and build that up. Now I haven't primed this model, so I'm using Vallejo's game colour, which will work as a primer. I think you can pretty much paint on resin anyway, but game colour is really going to stick to it. So that's what I'm doing in the background. So as I mentioned, I think James is helping the channel potentially grow a bit. I thought it was just a really, really nice thing to do. So what I'm actually going to do, and he doesn't know this yet, I'm going to finish painting this, and it's going to be the first miniature from the channel, Watch It Paint It, that I send off to somebody. So I'm going to put this in the post. I wrote down James's return address from the parcel he had sent to me, and I'm going to paint this up, varnish it, and send it off. So hopefully he'll like that, and hopefully check in the comments below and he'll be able to give you an opinion of my painting from first-hand impressions. So thank you, James. Appreciate that. Thanks to all my patrons as always. Thought this was a really nice thing, and hopefully this is a nice thing for you back. And if you haven't checked out my Patreon and you'd like to get involved in this awesome community that is growing, do check out the link in the description below. Back to painting. We've got in the background, that was Night Blue by Vallejo, so I'm going to paint on his jeans. He's basically wearing denim jeans, and he's got a wrap around his sort of sniper rifle thing. Not quite sure what that is, but some sort of string, and it looks blue in the art. This artwork is incredibly hard to get hold of. I only found 2 pictures of this guy, and I don't know what those sorts of rock thing he stood on. Couldn't find that in a picture, couldn't find that on the board. Unsure about that. I'm going to be using Wolf Grey by Army Painter. That's like a light denim colour, and I'm going to be painting on all the raised folds on those jeans that he's wearing, and bring out the highlight on all those raised bits using my insane detail brush for that. It's very, very small and fiddly. This whole model is very small and fiddly. I'm going to use Army Painters. I just don't get on with Vallejo's metallics, so I use Army Painters where I can, and this is their gunmetal, Machinegun Metal. Machinegun Metal. Yeah, that sounds right. Words are hard. That's just a paint on his boot. He's got these metallic boots, and I'm just giving them a base coat. I'm trying to avoid using washes on a lot of this, so I'm starting quite dark, which I may not normally do when I'm doing a quick job, but I'm trying to build this up quite naturally because it's really, really highly detailed and really like finicky. It's hard to work with. It's such small details. Hopefully, if you've got the real game, the plasticky ones probably lost some of the detail, but they are going to be a bit easier to paint if that's the case. I'm going to use black on his bag and just paint the whole thing in black. Again, that's basically the shading I'm doing to begin with. I'm trying to avoid using washes and have to do lots and lots of highlighting levels up. I'm trying to avoid doing lots of highlighting levels full stop. I just don't want to put a lot of paint on this model. That's one reason for not priming as well. I'm avoiding that layer of paint obscuring some of this detail. I'm also going to be using that black to paint on his t-shirt, his shirt. That also looks black. I couldn't quite tell with the bag. It looks sort of like it's going to be dark grey, so I'm using that black as the shadows, whereas his t-shirt is just black, so I'm painting that one black, and I'm going to highlight it a little bit. I'm going to highlight them both in the same way later on, but the t-shirt I'll just do a lot more gently, a lot less vigorous dry brushing I'm going to use when that comes up shortly in the video. For all of this model, I'm using my Rosemary & Co 3/0 brush. That's this black one you can see here. And the rest, when I switch over brushes, the white one, that's the Army Painter Insane Detail. And this model's just so small, they're the only two brushes I could afford to use on it. I am using some shader now. This is Survivor Shader, a black wash. So Norm Oil by Citadel would have a similar effect. And I'm just going to paint over all of the metallics, so his boots, and I did his wrist watch as well in that. I painted his gun in black as well, I should mention that. Then I realised he's got this satchel, and I was going to use a different brown, but I think just dark flesh tone matches skin, and a Beasty Brown highlight on all the raised parts. It's one less sort of set of browns you need to use, and it's far enough away from his skin, it's going to look good. And you've got sort of that rule of trying to use sort of 3 colours, 3 and a little bit of detail colouring there, but it's gonna look nice without too many crazy colours, and it's going to save you a lot of time. Next, I'm going to use Necromancer Cloak Dark Grey by the Army Painter, this one. I'm basically using Vallejo to do all of the priming and Army Painter to paint on top, but that was to paint his bag dark grey, this Necromancer Cloak, and I'm also going to be painting very lightly some of his t-shirt, all the raised bits, basically all those folds, and then after that it's going to be Filthy Suit of very light grey by the Army Painter, and I'm going to lightly dry brush that over his bag. There's a lot of raised parts of that, it's going to catch really well, and then even lightly that's going to be seriously gently on his t-shirt. I'm just going to catch the very most raised folds, and just because his t-shirt's black, but you just want to give a splash of depth to it, so you're highlighting it up very, very lightly. I'm going to use Machinegun Metal and the side of my brush and paint on all the raised parts of his sniper rifle thing there as well. So I'm using the black instead of using wash. I just base coated it, primed it essentially in black, and then I'm almost dry brushing it side of the brush over that, making it look metallic again. Black metallics looks really nice. I've been talking to another Patreon subscriber, Shelley, and I've seen her painting some awesome looking machinery using that technique, so I stole it from her really. That was bright gold for his cross around his chest, and that was really, really hard work. That is really small. That's like 0.0 millimeters sort of thing. So take your time, and I was just dotting on a little bit of paint at a time. And then I used Magic Blue. That was for the lights on his boots. He's just got a couple of lights, and I painted those on. Wolf Grey for his sort of watch. It's got a glowy screen to that. And this Wolf Grey, sorry, this is Vallejo's Wolf Grey, which is completely different to Army Painter's. That's almost a white one, and it looks very much like the artwork. For this rock, as I said, can't see any artwork of the rocks. I don't know. I haven't got Deep Madness. I don't know what you're doing on it. It looks like some sort of mining factory. Not sure what you're mining. I sort of wanted to paint this like an alien-y rock, but I've just gone for Terracota. I'm going to use Zombie Shader. That's a sort of grey-brown shader. I think that's probably quite close to Agrax Earthshade if you've got the Citadel one. And I'm just going to liberally apply that. He's got plenty all over that. I don't mind too much about this bit. I'm going to use Vallejo's Tan, which is a lighter version of that Terracota. And this is my Insane Detail brush. That's how small it is. This is a big rock, and it's still teeny tiny. And I'm going to edge highlight all of the spikes, the pointy bits of the rock, and just make that look as realistic as I can. We're on to varnishing. So that's the model finished. It's fiddly. It's quite hard work, but it didn't take very long. I didn't do too many layers of highlights. There's not enough space to do it. You're talking about a base coat, and then they're not millimeter thick riffles in his clothing. You just haven't got. I couldn't do it. You have to let me know if you can paint better, and you've got any tips for that. Let me know in the comments below. So it was quite quick. It was just really fiddly, and it was quite headachy trying to keep my hand that still. But I'm going to use this matte varnish all over his skin and his clothing. So t-shirt, trousers, that bag he's got, all of his skin. I'm also painting his gun with this matte to begin with. So the majority of this model's matte. This is hopefully going to protect it. Hopefully going to protect it in the post when I send it out to James as soon as I finish recording this video, so we can get this video up as fast as possible. Then I'm going to use another varnish. This is the satin varnish. It's all paint on varnish by Vallejo. And for this one, I'm going to do the metallics on him, so his boots and his gun as well. So the satin's a sort of cross, and this is what I'd normally just paint my whole model in. When I use a spray can by Army Painter, I do the whole thing. But this is a bit of a cross between gloss and matte. It's going to give it a little bit of shine. And I wanted the metals to just be a little bit shiny, not super glossy shiny, because I'm going to use that one as well. I'm using 3 glosses on this, and the third gloss, the gloss, sorry, the third varnish will be just for that watch light. But the satin on his gun, on his boots, and on his cross around his neck, and then a tiny dot. You can see just a little blob. I'm going to put that on the screen of his watch. Just try and make that look a little bit more like a screen. Oh, sorry, off camera, I painted on a tiny white dot on top of that wolf grey. So that's the model completely finished. We're going to move on to that custom base I was talking about. I'd be doing this anyway. This isn't just because I'm sending out a model to James. I wanted to impress him. But these are those MDF cut. These are no longer prototypes by Game Envy. I will leave a link in the description below. They've got these bases, they've got those paint pucks that I like, and the hobby holder that you've seen that I'm using throughout it. You can see this base is about 25, 28 mil sort of size, and it's going to fit the scale of the model. So I'm just going to attach this to my model holder. So a bit of blue tack on my drinks lid that I've saved, or I think I bought that one from hobby holder, but the one you saw there was off my Fanta. And then you just switch them out. You just screw the old one off, the new one on, and I can paint on this. And that's because I was chopping and changing between everything while I was painting, while I was waiting for things to dry. I'm going to base coat this. It's wooden. Some subscribers have mentioned it might soak up this wood, so you might want to prime it beforehand, but I've painted a couple of these bases now and I have no problem. They've stayed perfect. So I'm just using Machinegun Metal, straight, neat. Haven't watered this. No, I watered this down a teeny tiny bit mine though. And then I'm just going to coat the whole thing. And I'm going to do the side, even though I'm not going to keep that colour because of the fact it might be slurping up some of this paint. So I thought I'd do that. I'm going to add a little bit of a rust effect. So I'm going to use Terracota to base coat the rust that I'm going to add. And I'm just making up, this corner's got some rust and it's spread a little bit. And then that corner over there, and again, a little bit of rust and it's spread a little bit. And that terracotta is going to give it a really dark base for the rust. After that, I'm going to apply the survivor shade of the black wash directly to it because I've done that before and it works perfectly. It says picking it up off of something else and moving on. And then I'm just spreading it around evenly and wiping off some of that excess. I didn't want any of it to pool. I didn't want to get any watermarks from it. And it just applied, I just put on a bit too much really, but you know, it's not hard to take it off. It's actually easier to take it off than put it on. So that worked fine. Then I'm going to go into highlighting it and I'm going to use that Claymore Blade silver, the light one, the really, really shiny silver one that I used by the Army Painter detail brush. And I'm just going to add some detail. So I'm going to add a few, I'm going to go over all of the, what would you call these, like rivets holding down these steel plates. I chose this base because it looked a bit spaceshipy, a bit futuristic. I thought it suits the art and the model style really well. I'm going to add some random scratches as though something's clawed or scraped. There you go, just saw those appear. And then on this, I always want to say it's corrugated. What do I mean? Somebody let me know in the comments below what I mean by that metal crisscross pattern. But I'm just going to paint up a few of those as though they've been caught and just shined up and scratched a little bit. I'm going to use Citadel's technical paint. This is Riser Rust. I always say it wrong. It's really hard. I'm talking too fast. Riser Rust. I think Army Painter have got one of these, and I think Vallejo do as well. I got too much on my brush there. Just using, this is my regiment brush. I've switched to a bigger brush. This brush has now had it. It's out of commission, but I can use it for things like this that I just don't care about. And I'm sort of stippling this on. I'm just dotting it in the very, very corner of where I painted that terracotta before and just brightening it up. And then I'm just smooshing it, let's say, just a tiny, tiny bit. I'm just spreading it a little bit, trying to make it look realistic as I can. That terracotta base has made it look a lot more realistic, I think. Finally, I'm going to paint the rim of the base just dead black. As always, when I do this, it's just to bring your attention back to the top of what I would say is important, what you should be looking at. Next up, I'm going to be doing some fancy basing, scenicsy stuff. This is that kit that I got from Model Box by last month's subscription, and I think it's by Zinj Industries. I will leave a link in the description below to these products and Model Box. You guys should at least check out Model Box if nothing else. And I'm thinking this battery and this sort of power cell look like they could go on this scenery. I'm not sure I want to chuck any of these random shells or skulls around, but I think just spice it up a little bit for James, for myself. If I was keeping this for myself, I would still do this. These two, it gives me an excuse to try out this, and that one detached very, very easy, that power cell. And then the battery is insanely difficult to detach. This took me 5 minutes. Do let me know in the comments below if there was an easier way of doing this. I think if I'd just smashed off all the little pieces, I'd have had better access to it, but that plastic at the bottom was just so thick. I was exhausted by now. I'll just go and cut this little bit off the base, move that one off, and then just get some real force behind it. I'm knocking bits off left, right, and center, and still not through, and that wasn't fun. It is the hardest one. Nothing else on there looks anywhere near as difficult to remove. That was a bad idea, by the way, using the end of that. This is quite fragile plastic, and I broke a bit off the battery, but I don't think it's going to matter. It's still going to look the piece on the board. It's just something to make it look a little bit more interesting. And finally, I was free. So here we go. Again, I'm going to use that hobby holder that I use a lot. It's actually got a handle normally, but I do try and avoid the handle on the video just because it gets in the way and it takes the focus of the camera sometimes. So you just focused on the handle instead of what I'm doing. I'm going to use Tinny Tin. Again, Vallejo's game color, and that's just going to work as a primer and the base coat all in one. And I do think this does need priming, so I think I possibly just tried it before just to see what it was like with a non-game color paint, and I think it just washed straight off. So definitely prime these. Again, it's a bit fiddly. I think you want some paint on primer. I'm not sure how you'd spray these, but I'm just going to cover it entirely in Tinny Tin, give that a nice base coat, and give it a metallic undercoat, really. Survivor Shade, I've used that a lot in this video. Black wash, same as the Nuln Oil, really. Well, I don't think I can say it's the same, but it has a similar effect, I should say. Machinegun Metal, and I'm just going to dry brush that, proper dry brush here, just going nuts and catching all of the edges of both of these items, really making them look a lot more metallic now. Bit beaten, bit old school, a bit, you know, they're dated. These have been on the ground for a while. I don't even know the scene of the game, what's going on. Is it abandoned? I'm just assuming there'd be junk lying around. Then we're going to use a bit of dead black and just paint on around the side of the battery, darken up the top a little bit, just try and give it a little bit more realistic look. A bit of gold yellow here, and that's to paint on the lightning bolt of that power cell. I don't even know what that is. I thought it, you know, probably in a futuristic mining facility, space station. I don't know. Somebody let me know more about Deep Madness. Am I missing out? I've heard James let me know that they're going to re-kickstart soon. And has anybody got it? Has anyone played the game? Is it good? Am I missing out? I didn't even know about it the first time round in the Kickstarter. Anyway, now we've finished painting, let's put some of these pieces together. We're going to start with the Game MV basic bases, I think they call this. Absolutely fantastic product. Really liking that. I'm going to be using them a lot more. Link will be in the description below with 10% discount. If you've not checked those out, you should do. And we'll take the Deep Madness model. This is Samuel Smith, completely finished now, still on that temporary base. And then I'll also be taking those 2 pieces of scenery, and we'll be fitting all of this together. So the first thing we need to do is remove that from the base. You can see it's wibbly wobbly already. I didn't use a lot of glue to stick him down. He's taken a little bit of bashing when I've been painting this. He doesn't just pull off gently though, and I didn't want to snap him. So let's just grab my scalpel, really thin blade, and I don't want to cut him off. I didn't use much glue, so I'm just trying to get the blade under and just gently, softly catch him, monkey, prise him off. And with that done, we're free to start gluing the bases, the models, the basing material. What do you call this? Scenics? Basing material? Little items, little objects to put on his base. And what I'm just going to do is use my big fingers and clumsily arrange that until I'm roughly happy with enough base showing through. And you want to see the model more than anything, but I just wanted to keep some of the details of the base and the items that I'm adding. And then it's just a blob of glue just to the bottom. Push it into place and then leave this to set and just to dry. Probably gave it about 30 minutes or something just to make sure that glue was enough to carry on. That's him completely finished. As I am sending this off to James, I am going to brand it for you, back with the old logo. Hopefully some of you still remember that. Bring a smile to some of your faces, hopefully. And with that, the model's completely finished. I did lose track of how long it took me. Apologies, it was a good few hours. There was just too many pieces, juggling, spinning plates, not quite sure how long it took. Thank you very much for sending that in, James. Hope you appreciate the model. Some more of you will be getting models in the future. And with that, We've been asked previously if we'd do commissions, and we've said no, but we are now open to suggestions, ideas, conversations about commissions. So if you'd like something like that, do just get in touch, give us a message, and we can have a little chat about it. We'll take on some small projects, that sort of thing. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the first Deep Madness video. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see some more.